Your car won't start. You turn the key, you hear a click, maybe a slow groan from the engine, and nothing. So you do what most people do. You call a mechanic, you get a tow, you sit in a waiting room for 2 hours, and at the end of it someone hands you a bill for a new battery, a new alternator, maybe a diagnostic fee on top of everything. And the whole time, the real problem was sitting right there under your hood, visible to anyone who knew what to look for. A little bit of white, blue, or greenish crust sitting on top of your battery terminals. That is it. That is the whole problem, and it can be fixed in 15 minutes with something that costs less than $1 and is already sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. Today I am going to show you exactly how to clean corroded battery terminals the right way, the professional way, not the half-measure way that most people do when they read a quick article online and grab a wire brush and call it done. We are going through the full process from start to finish. You are going to understand what the corrosion actually is, why it happens, what it is doing to your car, how to remove it completely, how to protect against it coming back, and how to know when cleaning is not enough and its replacement is the actual answer. By the end of this, you will have a skill that saves you money every single year for the rest of the time you own a car. Now, before we get into it, I want to say something that I think is genuinely important. One unnecessary repair can cost you hundreds of dollars. Do not let that happen to you. The stuff I teach on this channel, this is exactly the kind of knowledge that puts money back in your pocket and keeps it there. If you want the complete guide we put together that covers this, and a whole list of other car maintenance tasks most people pay a mechanic to handle for them, scan the QR code on the screen right now to get it, or click the link in my bio. It is there waiting for you, and it will pay for itself the very first time you use it. All right, let us get into it. 1. Let us start at the beginning, because understanding the problem is half of solving it, and most people have no idea what that white or bluish crust on their battery terminals actually is. They see it, they know it is bad, but they have no idea what caused it or what it is doing to their vehicle. Battery terminals corrode because of a chemical reaction between hydrogen gas and the metal of the terminal. Here is what happens. Your car battery is a lead-acid battery. When that battery charges and discharges, which it is doing constantly every time your car is on, it produces small amounts of hydrogen gas as a byproduct. That hydrogen gas vents out of the battery, and when it comes into contact with the lead or copper of the terminal, along with moisture and oxygen in the air, it triggers a chemical reaction. The result of that reaction is what you are seeing when you look at a corroded terminal. It is lead sulfate, copper sulfate, or some combination of the two, depending on what your terminal is made of. Now here is why the color matters, and this is something most people have never heard before. The color of the corrosion tells you a story about your battery and your electrical system, and that story is worth paying attention to. White or grayish corrosion is the most common type. It typically forms on the negative terminal. It usually means normal, everyday corrosion from the chemical venting process. It does not necessarily indicate a serious problem with the battery itself. It just means the battery is doing what batteries do, and the corrosion has had time to build up. Blue or blue-green corrosion is copper sulfate. If you see this, it means the corrosion has progressed to the point where it is eating into copper components, which typically means your cables or connectors. Blue corrosion is a signal that you need to inspect not just the terminal but the cable ends as well, because there may be corrosion working its way up the cable that you cannot see from the outside. Heavy corrosion on the positive terminal specifically can indicate an overcharging condition, which means your alternator may be pushing too much voltage into the battery. If you clean your positive terminal and the corrosion comes back very quickly, within a few weeks, that is a sign your alternator needs to be checked. Red or orange corrosion usually indicates rust, which means moisture has been getting into places it should not be. This often happens in older vehicles where the battery tray or hold down has started to deteriorate. So when you pop that hood and look at your battery, do not just see a mess to be cleaned up. Read what is there. It is telling you something. Now, what does corrosion actually do to your car in practical terms? This is where people underestimate the problem. When corrosion builds up on your battery terminals, it creates resistance in the electrical connection between the battery and the rest of the vehicle. Electricity does not flow through that corrosion the way it does through clean metal. It has to fight its way through it. And what that means in real-world terms is that your battery appears weaker than it actually is. Your starter motor gets less power than it needs. Your alternator has to work harder to compensate. Your lights may dim. Your electronics may behave erratically, and eventually the car will not start at all. The reason this is so expensive when people take it to a mechanic is that the symptoms of severe terminal corrosion look exactly like the symptoms of a dead battery or a failing alternator. The car will not start, the electricals are acting up. The battery seems to drain faster than normal. A mechanic who does not look carefully, or a mechanic who is not being honest with you, can sell you a new battery, a new alternator, and new cables, when the actual fix costs less than $1.15 of your time. That is why this matters. That is why learning this is worth your time. 2. Okay, here's where we talk about what you actually need to get this job done properly. And I want to be very clear about this because there is a right way to do this, and a way that most people do it that leaves the problem half solved. First, the famous $1 trick, baking soda. Regular, ordinary baking soda that you have in your kitchen right now. Baking soda is an alkaline compound, and battery corrosion is acidic. When you apply baking soda mixed with water to battery corrosion, you get a neutralization reaction. The acid in the corrosion reacts with the alkaline baking soda, the corrosion breaks down, and it lifts right off the metal. This is not a hack. This is basic chemistry, and it is the same method professional mechanics use. The only difference is that in a shop setting, they might use a commercial battery terminal cleaner spray that costs $12 to $15, and that spray is doing the exact same chemical thing as baking soda and water. So that is the $1 trick, baking soda. That is it. That is the whole secret. Here's the full list of what you want to have before you start. Baking soda. A box from the grocery store, the same one you use for cooking. You do not need a lot. A couple of tablespoons is plenty. Water. Warm water works better than cold. Not hot, just warm. You can use a spray bottle, a small container, a cup, whatever you have available, an old toothbrush. This is your primary scrubbing tool, and it is perfect for this job because the bristles are stiff enough to scrub corrosion off metal, but not so stiff that they damage the terminal posts. Do not throw away your old toothbrushes. Keep one under the hood or in your garage specifically for this purpose. A wire brush. A small wire brush from a hardware store usually costs $1 to $2. This is for more severe corrosion, where the toothbrush alone is not going to cut through everything. You want a brass wire brush, not a steel one, because brass is softer and less likely to scratch or damage your terminal posts. 2 wrenches or a socket set. You will need these to disconnect the battery terminals. The size you need depends on your vehicle, but 10 millimeters is the most common size for battery terminal bolts. If you do not know what size yours is, 10 millimeter is a safe starting point. Rubber gloves. Battery acid is corrosive, and so is the corrosion that comes off the terminals. You do not need heavy industrial gloves. Regular rubber kitchen gloves or latex disposable gloves work fine. The point is to keep the chemicals off your skin. Safety glasses. When you start scrubbing corrosion, particles fly. Your eyes are worth protecting. This is not optional. Clean rags or paper towels. Several of them you will go through more than you think. A small container or bowl for mixing your baking soda solution. Petroleum jelly, or a product called battery terminal protector spray. This goes on after the cleaning is done. It is the step most people skip, and it is the step that determines whether the corrosion comes back in 3 months or stays away for a year or more. Optional but highly recommended. Battery terminal felt washers. These are small anti-corrosion felt washers that you place around the base of the terminal post before you reconnect the cable. They are soaked in a compound that neutralizes the hydrogen gas before it has a chance to react with the metal. They cost about $2 to $3 for a pack, and they dramatically extend the time between cleanings. That is your full toolkit. Total cost if you are starting from scratch is probably $5 to $10, and most of those things are reusable indefinitely. 3. Before you do a single thing to that battery, I need you to hear what I am about to say. Car batteries can hurt you if you are careless around them. They contain sulfuric acid. They can produce hydrogen gas in certain conditions, and they are capable of delivering enough electrical current to cause serious burns or shock. None of this should make you afraid to do this job. Millions of people clean their own battery terminals every year without incident. But you need to respect what you are working with and follow a few simple rules. Rule 1. Never smoke, have an open flame, or create any kind of spark near a car battery. Hydrogen gas is flammable and it does not take much to ignite it. No cigarettes, no lighters, no grinding tools anywhere near the battery. Rule 2. Always disconnect the negative terminal first and reconnect it last. This is the fundamental rule of working on any car's electrical system. The negative terminal is the one with the minus sign and usually the black cable. Disconnecting it first breaks the circuit and prevents accidental sparking. When you reconnect, you put the negative terminal back on last for the same reason. Rule 3. If battery acid gets on your skin, rinse immediately with large amounts of water for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Battery acid causes chemical burns that get worse with time. Rinse first, worry about everything else second. Rule 4. Do not touch both terminals at the same time with any metal tool or with your hands. Bridging the positive and negative terminals, even accidentally, creates a short circuit, and you do not want that. Rule 5. Work in a ventilated area. Do not clean your battery in a closed garage with the door down. Hydrogen gas can accumulate in enclosed spaces, and while it dissipates quickly outdoors, it can build up inside. Outside is ideal. If you have to work in a garage, open the door all the way. These are not overcomplications. These are the 5 things that keep this job safe and simple. Follow them and you have nothing to worry about. 4. Alright, gloves on, safety glasses on, let us do this. Step 1. Open the hood and locate your battery. In most vehicles, the battery is easily visible in the engine bay, usually toward the front on either the left or right side. In some vehicles, particularly certain European makes, the battery is in the trunk or under the rear seat. If you do not know where your battery is, check your owner's manual. It will tell you. Step 2. Look at the battery before you touch it. Check for any cracks in the battery case, any bulging of the sides, any significant leaking of fluid. If you see any of these, do not clean the terminals. A cracked, bulging, or leaking battery needs to be replaced, full stop. Take it to a shop or replace it yourself. But cleaning the terminals on a damaged battery is not going to fix anything. Step 3. Assess the corrosion. Take a good look at both terminals. Remember the color information from earlier. Identify which terminal has more buildup, and take note of whether the corrosion is light and powdery or heavy and thick. This tells you how long and how intensive your cleaning process needs to be. Step 4. Mix your baking soda solution. In your small bowl or container, combine 1 tablespoon of baking soda with 1 cup of warm water. Stir it until the baking soda dissolves. You want a solution, not a paste. Some people make a thick paste of baking soda and water for heavy corrosion, and that works too. But for standard cleaning, the liquid solution gives you better penetration and is easier to apply. Step 5. Disconnect the negative terminal first. Use your wrench or socket to loosen the bolt or nut that clamps the cable to the negative terminal post. Once it is loose, wiggle the cable clamp side to side gently and lift it straight up off the terminal post. Do not yank it or pry at it aggressively. Set the cable aside and make sure it cannot fall back and touch the terminal accidentally. Some people use a piece of tape or a zip tie to hold it away from the battery while they work. Step 6. Disconnect the positive terminal. Same process. Loosen the bolt, wiggle the clamp side to side, lift it straight up off the post. Step 7. Apply the baking soda solution. Pour or spray your baking soda and water mixture directly onto the corroded terminals, the cable clamps, and anywhere you can see buildup. You will immediately see fizzing and bubbling. That is the neutralization reaction happening. That is exactly what you want to see. That fizzing means the chemistry is working. Let the solution sit and fizz for a minute or 2 before you start scrubbing. The longer it sits, the more it breaks down the corrosion before you even have to touch it with a brush. Step 8. Scrub the terminal posts. Use your toothbrush to scrub the terminal posts in a circular motion. You will see the corrosion lifting off and mixing with the solution to create a white or gray foamy residue. That is normal. Keep scrubbing. Get into all the grooves and threads of the terminal post. If your corrosion is heavy and the toothbrush is not making a dent, switch to the wire brush, but be more careful and precise with it to avoid scratching the lead post more than necessary. Step 9. Scrub the cable clamps. The inside of the cable clamps where they make contact with the terminal posts is just as important as the post itself. Corrosion inside the clamp is invisible when everything is connected, but it is doing just as much damage to your electrical connection. Use the toothbrush or a specialized battery terminal brush, which has bristles on the inside of a cylinder designed specifically to clean the inside of the clamp and scrub thoroughly. Step 10. Rinse everything. Pour clean water over the terminals, the clamps, and the surrounding area to wash away the baking soda solution along with all the dissolved corrosion. Use a rag to wipe everything dry. Then look again. If you still see significant corrosion, repeat the baking soda application and scrubbing process. Sometimes heavy buildup needs 2 or even 3 cycles to fully remove. Step 11. Dry everything thoroughly. Use clean rags or paper towels to dry the terminal posts and the inside of the cable clamps as completely as possible. Moisture left behind can restart the corrosion process faster than you might think. Take your time here. Step 12. Inspect the cables. Now that the clamps are clean and you can see them clearly, take a close look at the cables themselves, especially near the clamp where they connect. Look for fraying, cracks in the insulation, green discoloration working up from the clamp, or any soft or mushy sections in the cable. If you find any of these, the cable needs to be replaced in addition to the cleaning you just did. A corroded cable is a resistance problem, just like a corroded terminal, and a clean terminal with a bad cable is not going to solve your starting problems. Step 13. Apply petroleum jelly or battery terminal protector spray. This is the step most people skip, and it is one of the most important steps in the whole process. Before you reconnect the cables, apply a thin coat of petroleum jelly, regular Vaseline, to the terminal posts and to the inside of the cable clamps. Petroleum jelly creates a barrier that slows the oxidation and venting reaction that causes corrosion in the first place. If you have battery terminal protector spray, that is even better and even easier to apply. Either one works. The goal is a thin coating, not a thick glob. Step 14. If you have anti-corrosion felt washers, now is when you place them. Slide one washer down over each terminal post so it sits flat at the base of the post. These washers are pre-treated with a corrosion inhibitor, and they provide a physical barrier against the hydrogen gas that causes the problem. Step 15. Reconnect the positive terminal first. Slide the cable clamp down over the positive terminal post, then tighten the bolt firmly. You want it tight enough that the clamp does not wiggle or rotate on the post, but you do not need to apply so much force that you are stripping threads or cracking the post. Firm and snug is right. Step 16. Reconnect the negative terminal. Same process. Slide the clamp on, tighten the bolt. Step 17. Start the car. Turn the key or push the start button. If the terminals were the cause of your starting issues, the car should start normally now. If it still will not start or starts poorly, the issue is elsewhere, and you may have a battery that needs to be load tested, an alternator issue, or a starter problem. 5. Sometimes you pop the hood and what you find is not just a little white powder. Sometimes it is a thick, crusty, heavy buildup that has been there for years. Sometimes the corrosion has spread beyond the terminal to the battery tray, the hold-down clamp, nearby brackets, or has started eating into the cable ends. For situations like these, standard cleaning is not enough and you need to step up your approach. For heavy corrosion on the terminal posts and cable clamps, after your initial baking soda treatment and scrubbing, use a dedicated battery terminal brush or a Dremel tool with a wire wheel attachment to mechanically grind off the remaining buildup. The goal is to get down to clean, shiny metal on both the post and the inside of the clamp. A dull gray or brown surface after cleaning is not good enough for a reliable electrical connection. You want to see metal. For corrosion that is spread to the battery tray itself, use the same baking soda solution and scrub the tray down. If the metal tray has significant rust in addition to corrosion, treat it with a rust converter product after cleaning, then prime and paint it or coat it with a rust-inhibiting spray. A corroded battery tray is a structural concern. If the tray is rusted through, the battery is not being properly supported, and that is a safety issue. For cable ends where the corrosion has worked its way up inside the insulation, you need to be honest about whether cleaning is going to solve the problem. If you cut back the insulation a few inches and find green corroded copper wire inside, the cable is compromised. It needs to be replaced. You can splice in a new section or replace the whole cable. This is not a complicated job on most vehicles, and replacement battery cables are inexpensive. usually between $10 and $30 depending on the vehicle, for post caps that are stuck. Sometimes severely corroded terminal clamps get stuck to the post and will not come off with normal wiggling. Do not use a screwdriver or bar to pry them off. There is a tool made specifically for this called a battery terminal puller, which uses a screw mechanism to apply straight upward pressure on the clamp without damaging the post. It costs about $5, and it is the right tool for this situation. Forcing a stuck clamp with a pry bar can crack the battery case, crack the terminal post, or cause a short, none of which you want. 6. Cleaning the corrosion off your battery terminals is the immediate fix. But if you do not take steps to slow down the return of corrosion, you will be doing this again in a few months. Here is how to make the results of your work last as long as possible. The petroleum jelly, or terminal protector spray application we talked about in the cleaning process, is the most important thing you can do. It creates a physical barrier between the terminal metal and the corrosive elements in the air. It does not prevent corrosion from ever forming again, but it dramatically slows the process. The felt anti-corrosion washers are the second layer of defense, and they work really well in combination with the protective coating. Together, these two things can extend the time between cleanings from a few months to well over a year. Check your battery and terminals every 3 months. This does not have to be a full cleaning every time. Just pop the hood, look at the terminal, and if you see the early signs of corrosion beginning to form, wipe it down with a rag dampened with the baking soda solution. Rinse, dry, and apply a fresh coat of protective jelly. Catching it early when it is still powdery and light means you never have to deal with the heavy cemented-on corrosion that takes real effort to remove. Make sure your battery is properly secured in the tray. A battery that vibrates excessively because the hold down is missing or loose will corrode faster. Vibration causes the battery to vent more hydrogen gas than normal, which accelerates the corrosion process. Check the battery charge level. A battery that is consistently undercharged or overcharged vents more gas and corrodes terminals faster. If you notice your battery warning light coming on, if your car is slow to start regularly, or if your electronics behave inconsistently, have your battery and charging system tested. Most auto parts stores will do this for free. Consider the climate you live in. Hot climates accelerate battery chemical reactions, including corrosion. If you live somewhere hot, check your terminals more frequently, every 6 to 8 weeks rather than every 3 months. Cold climates make batteries work harder and can cause cracking and leaking in older batteries. Both extremes require more frequent maintenance attention. Keep the area around your battery clean and dry. If your engine leaks oil or other fluids that get near the battery, clean them up. Contaminants on and around the battery housing can accelerate deterioration of the case and increase venting. 7. This is the part where I have to be honest with you, because not every battery problem is a corrosion problem. Cleaning your terminals is going to solve the issue in a large number of cases, but there are situations where the battery itself is finished, and no amount of cleaning is going to bring it back. You need to be able to recognize those situations so you are not pouring effort into a terminal cleaning when what you actually need is a battery replacement. Your battery is probably done when it is more than 4 to 5 years old. Car batteries have a typical lifespan of 3 to 5 years. Some last longer, some do not make it that far, but once you are past that range, you are living on borrowed time regardless of how clean your terminals are. If you do not know how old your battery is, look for a sticker on the battery itself. Most manufacturers date code the battery with a letter for the month and a number for the year. If you cannot find a date, take it to an auto parts store and have it load tested. Your battery needs replacement when it fails a load test. A load test applies a specific electrical load to the battery and measures how well it holds up under that stress. A battery can pass a simple voltage test, showing 6 volts sitting there with the car off, but fail a load test because it cannot maintain adequate voltage when current is actually being drawn from it. Voltage tests lie, load tests tell the truth. If your battery fails a load test, clean terminals are not going to save it. Your battery needs replacement if the case is cracked, swollen, or leaking. Physical damage to the battery case means internal damage. A swollen battery, one where the sides are visibly bulging outward, is a sign of internal heat buildup or overcharging. It can be dangerous. Replace it immediately. Your battery needs replacement if it consistently dies overnight or within a day or two. Some parasitic drain, meaning a small amount of current draw when the car is off, is normal. But if a fully charged battery is dead in the morning after a normal night sitting in the driveway, either you have an electrical drain issue that needs to be diagnosed, or your battery no longer holds a charge. Both of these need professional attention beyond what a cleaning can address. 8. Let me walk you through the mistakes I see most often so you can avoid them. Mistake 1. Cleaning without disconnecting. Some people pour the baking soda solution on the terminals without disconnecting the cables first. Do not do this. You need the cables disconnected to properly clean the inside of the clamps, to access all sides of the terminal post, and to do the job safely, do it right. Mistake 2. Using a steel wire brush instead of brass. Steel is harder than lead. Scrubbing a lead terminal post with a steel wire brush scratches and gouges the post surface, which actually creates more surface area for future corrosion to take hold. Use a brass wire brush. Mistake 3. Reconnecting wet terminals. People get in a hurry, they rinse everything off, they think it looks good enough, and they reconnect. Any moisture left between the cable clamp and the terminal post will cause the connection to corrode faster than before. Take the extra 2 minutes to dry everything completely. Mistake 4. Skipping the protective coating step. I have said this before and I will say it again. The petroleum jelly or terminal protector is not optional. It is what makes the difference between your terminals staying clean for a year and being covered in corrosion again in 6 weeks. Do not skip it. Mistake 5. Forgetting to check the cable condition. Cleaning the visible surface of the terminals without checking whether the cables themselves are corroded internally is treating the symptom and ignoring a potential underlying cause. Always inspect the cables as part of the process. Mistake 6. Reconnecting the negative terminal first. Always positive last when disconnecting, always negative first. Wait, let me be clear. When disconnecting, negative first, then positive. When reconnecting, positive first, then negative. This order prevents accidental short circuits. Getting it backwards is not always catastrophic, but it creates unnecessary risk of sparking. Mistake 7. Tightening the terminal bolts too hard. The terminal posts on a battery are lead, which is a relatively soft metal. Over-tightening the clamp bolt can crack the post, which means the battery needs to be replaced. Firm and snug is what you want. You should not be able to rotate or wiggle the clamp after tightening, but you do not need to apply maximum torque to achieve that. Mistake 8. Not checking for the return of corrosion. Some people do this job once and never think about it again until the car will not start a year later. Build a habit of checking your terminals every time you check your oil or perform any other routine under-hood inspection. Early-stage corrosion takes 5 minutes to handle. Severe corrosion takes 30 minutes and might mean the problem has progressed to the cables. 9. Here are the things that move you from doing what most people do to doing what a shop professional with 20 years of experience does. After you reconnect the terminals and before you close the hood, apply a light coat of petroleum jelly or terminal protector to the outside of the clamps, not just the inside and the post. The outside of the clamp is also exposed to air and moisture, and corrosion can form there too, working its way inward over time. If you have dielectric grease available, use it inside the connection before reconnecting. Dielectric grease is a non-conductive grease that prevents moisture and air from reaching the metal surfaces inside the connection. It does not improve electrical conductivity, but it dramatically reduces the rate of corrosion. Apply a tiny amount to the inside of the cable clamp before sliding it onto the terminal post. After you start the car, let it run for a few minutes and then turn on the headlights and a few other electrical accessories. Air conditioning, radio, rear defroster. Watch to see if the battery warning light comes on, if the lights flicker, or if there are any unusual electrical behaviors. This is a quick and effective real-world test of whether your electrical connection is solid after the cleaning. Take a photo of your battery right after cleaning. A clean, well-maintained battery is easy to remember as the baseline. When you check it 3 months later, you have a before image in your phone to compare against, and you can immediately see how much corrosion has returned. Record the date of your cleaning. Put it in your phone. Put a piece of tape on the battery with the date written on it. Whatever works for you. When you know when you last cleaned the terminals, You know when you should next check them. Remove the guesswork. What we just went through is not complicated, but it is detailed. And the detail is what matters because this is one of those jobs where doing it halfway produces almost no benefit, and doing it fully produces real, lasting results that you will feel every time your car starts cleanly and reliably. A car that starts is not a luxury. It is what gets you to work, to your family, to every place you need to be. The 15 minutes and $1 that goes into this job is not really about battery terminals. It is about confidence. It is about knowing that you understand what is happening under the hood of your vehicle, and that you do not need to hand someone hundreds of dollars every time something acts up. That knowledge compounds. Every time you handle one of these jobs yourself, you get a little more comfortable, a little more capable, and a lot more resistant to being taken advantage of by anyone who is counting on you, not knowing what you are looking at. If you want to keep building that knowledge, we have a complete guide that covers battery maintenance, terminal cleaning, and a whole collection of other car maintenance tasks that most people pay a shop to handle. Scan the QR code on the screen to get it right now, or click the link in my bio. It is laid out step by step, the same way we went through everything today. And it is designed to be used in the driveway, not just read and forgotten. Go clean those terminals this week. Do not wait for the morning your car does not start. The window to take care of this is now, while it is convenient, while it is on your mind, and while it is still a 15-minute job instead of a tow truck and a waiting room. See you in the next one.